Broadcasting's special live coverage of President-elect Trump's first press conference since the election. It's also his first press conference. I've seen different numbers quoted: 167 days, 168 days, about 6 months. But anyway, so first press conference about 6 months, first one since the election. We are bringing it to you live on Right Side Broadcasting. And also, we have our correspondent, Liz Willis, at the press conference. She's got like front row seats, or front row standing position. She just tweeted us her picture of where she is. And she will be asking a question on behalf of Right Side Broadcasting at the press conference. So we are super excited about this. And we're actually just super excited about the press conference. So even if we were just like normal citizens and we were at home, we would be excited about the press conference. But we're covering it live, and we're so excited to bring it to you. So we're going to be here in the run-up to the press conference. I'm going to be here discussing some stuff and getting your comments about and questions about the press conference and your thoughts about what it's going to be like. And then we're going to cover it. We're going to go to when the press conference starts, we're going to go to it full screen live. And then after, we might even stick around after and do some stuff after. I think we're going to try to get Liz Willis on the phone in some sense after the press conference. So don't run away after the press conference. I think we got more coming for you. So I can't 100% promise it, but I think we're going to do something. We're going to try our best. But so excited for this press conference. This is now the press conference pre-show, I guess you could call it, here at Right Side Broadcasting. I am Steve Lookner. Now, I would love to hear from you during this pre-show for the press conference. And the way you can communicate with me is you can go on Twitter and you can direct message me. I am at Lookner, at Lookner. So you can go to Twitter, direct message me, and then if you have a comment about the press conference, something you're looking forward to, a question you hope President-elect Trump might answer, something you're interested in seeing what he's going to talk about, a concern you might have, a response to the events of the day, a response to we had the Sessions hearings yesterday, the Jeff Sessions confirmation hearings. I think the Rex Tillerson one is going on right now. Sorry, it's been so busy here. I've been trying to keep my eye on both the press conference stuff and the TV. So any of that stuff, any kind of comments, questions you have, we'd love to get your input during this pre-show. We want to hear from you about what you think about the upcoming press conference. So go on to Twitter. I'm at Lookner, at Lookner. Send me a direct message. Even if you're not following me, I can get your message, and I will look down periodically here and see what we got in the inbox, and I'd love to hear from you about what your thoughts are on the press conference. So I want to begin today by talking about something that it's really in the news a lot today, and to me, it's one of the chief interesting things about the press conference. So if you haven't been paying attention to the news this morning, to catch you up, you might have heard, something came out last night that all the news networks reported on. And what basically happened is this. There had been this document floating around for several months. And what this document supposedly was a file. Supposedly, it was a file made up by someone who claimed to be former British intelligence. And what this file was a bunch, I think it was about 30 pages, of info on Donald Trump, which contained some compromising info about him, supposedly. And supposedly this file was prepared as someone paid for this, I don't know if it was the Clinton campaign or the Democrats, someone had paid for this as opposition research. So the idea here is that the story is that somebody hired this guy who was formerly British intelligence to put together an opposition file on Donald Trump. So that's the story. That's the story of what this file is. And this file has certain allegations about Trump. And all this happened so fast, and I apologize to you. I'm going to be honest with you. I have the file open, and I haven't even gotten a chance to read the file myself. I've read parts, people talking about what's in the file, but I really want to go through the whole file myself. But before you run out and go to the file, let me emphasize this. I haven't finished my story yet to catch you up about all this. So the file has some like compromising information about Trump, but the thing is that this file, it's in no way confirmed or corroborated that it actually is legit and that it really came from somebody who was in British intelligence, and that it's all just not made up, and that anything in it actually is true. None of that is verified and confirmed. And actually, this file has been out in the press for several months. A bunch of media outlets have had copies of this file, and they have refused to report on it. So I actually made some notes here. Let me call up my notes because I wanted to talk to you about this. So I do know that if I'm remembering right from this morning, then both the New York Times and CNN had this file, and they would not report on specific allegations. So a bunch of media outlets that, believe me, would have loved to have reported the allegations in this file about Trump. They had this file and they wouldn't report it because they couldn't confirm it. They said that, and there's quotes. If you go, here's one. So I saw this morning. This is, I believe, from the New York Times article on this. It says, in a brief interview in the New York Times newsroom on Tuesday evening, Dean Baquet, the executive editor of the New York Times, said the paper would not publish the document because the allegations were, quote, totally unsubstantiated. So again, we have the executive editor of the New York Times. This is from their paper today. And the executive editor of the New York Times says in the New York Times today that they're not publishing this document because the allegations in it were, quote, totally unsubstantiated. Note that he doesn't say because we're not 100% sure. He says the allegations are totally unsubstantiated. Totally unsubstantiated means they have literally no reason to believe these things are true in this document. So if you're hearing about allegations coming out about Trump this morning, and I'll say one of them. This is one I've heard about, and it really bothered me. So one of the allegations in this document is that that Russia, when Trump was in Russia several years ago, Russia had cameras in some room or hotel room he was staying in, and they filmed him and excuse me, I don't want to be lewd here. I just want to. I'm doing this in the most tasteful way possible. They had cameras of President Trump. He wasn't president, excuse me, Donald Trump, not president-elect at the time. They had cameras, the allegations that they had cameras in a hotel, and they had footage of Donald Trump hiring prostitutes to do things involving urination. I'm sorry to be that graphic, but I just want to let you know, I mean, this is out there in a bunch of mainstream media outlets this morning, and I don't want to be graphic on this show, but I just want to tell you what's going on. And I will say, though, and so this is part of this file that is, again, totally unsubstantiated. And but a problem with this is that, so when I went on my Twitter feed, so I have a lot of friends who don't like Trump, and so if I go on my Twitter or on my Facebook, I see the stuff they post, and it seems like this whole story with him and the prostitutes and the urination thing has somehow filtered out into the world in general, even among people who aren't, normally that up on politics, because I saw a lot of my friends on Twitter and Facebook were posting Trump urination jokes, and look, go on Twitter right now, go on Facebook right now, you'll see them there. And see, this is I think what happens is these stories get out there, and so so CNN will say hey, there are these allegations about Trump, and maybe they'll throw something in about, but they're not substantiated yet. And all the networks have been reporting on this since last night, and you can read stories about it in the mainstream media. And so people just see the allegation, and they don't read the whole story and don't get like, oh wait, this document's completely unsubstantiated, and then they immediately think, and a lot of these people really hate Trump and are looking for any excuse to make fun of him, so they just kind of like assume it's true and just start posting jokes about it. So the worry here to me is that this will somehow like affect the press conference, and I am very interested in seeing. Excuse me as I fix my mic. I am very interested in seeing today during the press conference how much this will be asked about. So my take on this right now is that this story right now, as of right now, it's like it's one of these nothing burger stories just because there's no confirmation of anything and no substantiation of anything. Now, if later I learn, oh wait, here's some evidence that this document is legitimate, I'm always open to accepting whatever is presented as long as it comes from a legitimate source and it's been corroborated. So, look, if it turns out that any allegation against anybody, including these allegations against President-elect Trump, are true, I will embrace them. I'm not going to fight things that have been proven. But as of right now, my take on this is that this information is unsubstantiated as of now, and all it is rumors. And what I'm interested in seeing is, does this stuff get asked about a lot at the press conference? I have to imagine somebody's going to ask about it there. I can't see how they won't. The news media loves this stuff, the mainstream media, because it's like, oh, it's like salacious, so it's salacious, so they think people love to watch that stuff. Also, it's negative stuff potentially about Trump, so they think people love to watch that stuff, especially a lot of their target audience, who's leaning liberal. So my concern is that they're going to be, like the first 2 or 3 questions in this press conference is going to be about this thing. And if that happens, how will President-elect Trump react to this? I think he probably knows it's coming, but I'm guessing he is. So President-elect Trump, you should go on his website, not his Twitter feed if you haven't, and see. He tweeted out a bunch of tweets in the last 24 hours about totally denying this and saying it's fake news. And I wonder just if somebody, not only if they ask about this once, but let's suppose like 2 or 3 reporters ask about this and they keep pressing him on it and they won't let it go. Will he get mad? Because I think anybody in his position, if you ask them enough about this stuff, because I think he probably wants to talk about a lot of different issues. I mean, he's having this news conference, and I'm sure he wants to talk about like his different policies and the confirmation hearings and stuff. And if they keep asking him about this unsubstantiated document, is he just going to get angry? I think he'll have to like try to rein himself in, because I think it'd be natural to get angry. So that is one of the things I'm watching for, and I wish we didn't have to watch for that. I wish this whole issue wasn't around today, but it's like breaking at the perfect moment in the sense of perfect to interfere with the press conference. So let's see what happens. Okay, so what I want to do now is, first of all, remind you, we're Right Side Broadcasting. We're going to have the live feed of President Trump's first press conference after the election. Coming up right here. You don't even have to turn the channel. It's right here. You don't have to go to another site. It's right here. You're going to see it. The whole thing, we're carrying it for you. And this right now is the pre-show. We're in the pre-show for leading up to the Donald Trump press conference. And our own reporter, Liz Willis of Right Side Broadcasting, is at the press conference right now. She's standing there. She is prime seating, and she is going to ask a question of President Trump. We're so excited for this. So if you want to comment on what's going on today, and I see some people have been asking me some questions, which I'll get to in a moment. So I'd love to hear from you during this pre-show. What are your questions about the press conference? What do you think is going to happen? What are you looking forward to? What are you hoping he'll talk about? Go to Twitter, but direct message me. So I see a bunch of people are replying to, I think, tweets I've made, but it's a little hard for me to find those when I go in my iPad here. So the easiest thing, what you should do is go to Twitter, go to @Lookner, @LOOKNER, and just direct message me. Direct message me, and I will get your message, and I can read your messages. So I want to hear what you have to say. So, okay, so I have a comment here, right here. We have, this is from Mary Proud Trump 1. And she writes to me, she says, couldn't the story about the urination, she uses a different term for it, but I'm trying to be clean here. Couldn't the urination rumor story be just another distraction from the real issues? So this is a good question, and it could be. So let me say this. I think at this point it is a distraction from the real issues. The only way it's no longer that is if that story starts becoming confirmed. See, here's the problem. Here's something that happened. So for several months, this document with these allegations about Trump in it was out there, including these like urination allegations stuff. And again, the major news outlets weren't reporting it. And the only reason they started reporting it last night is because the site BuzzFeed, I'm confusing two things. The only reason a lot of the major news outlets like CNN started reporting it last night is because information came out last night, the news broke, that U.S. intelligence had briefed President-elect Trump about this document. So recently, U.S. intelligence said, like, hey, there's this document floating around with these allegations in it. They didn't say, and as far as I'm aware, they didn't tell them it was legitimate. They just said there's this document out there. But see, once the intelligence agencies told him that, and they briefed him on it, and once that news came out, that gave mainstream media outlets the excuse to talk about it. So, for example, CNN, since about like 8 p.m. last night, they started reporting this, like I think during Obama's speech. They have been constantly reporting as breaking news. Intel agencies confront President-elect Trump with the fact that this document is out there. Intel agencies brief President-elect Trump about this document. And of course, when they talk about the story that Intel agencies brief President-elect about the document, they can then, on CNN or wherever else, talk about some of the allegations. So it seems like if the story never came out about the Intel agencies briefing President-elect Trump, all of these mainstream news outlets would not have reported about the document. But since yesterday, what happened is the intelligence agencies briefed him. It's like a blanket excuse for them to be like, okay, well, even though it's unsubstantiated, we can report on it now, because they had not reported on it for months. So I still, and Mary Proud Trump 1, get back to your question, is this a distraction? I think at this point it's a distraction in the sense of like, as far as I'm aware and as far as has been reported, all that happened is the intelligence agencies told President-elect Trump this document existed. They didn't present any evidence that it's a legitimate document. At least that hasn't been reported that they presented any legitimate evidence. So the only thing that's changed from last night to tonight, the only thing that's changed from the last 3 months where this wasn't reported to today where all these allegations are now in the news, is that intelligence agencies reported, it came out that intelligence agencies briefed Trump that this document existed. Now, one other thing that did change is that the site BuzzFeed published this entire document. And I want to say something about this, but as I do, I just want to confirm that they published it like yesterday or today. So excuse me while I go into my BuzzFeed here. I'm going to BuzzFeed.com and I'm looking it up, and it says, okay, so this document was published Tuesday night by BuzzFeed News. Boy, it's been so hectic here. I believe today is Wednesday. It is. So the other thing that changed, let me correct myself. The second thing that changed, and there's a reason why you're hearing about these allegations, is because this website BuzzFeed published this document last night. It had not been published before. And this is really crazy. So I thought this was crazy. So if you go online today, there's a lot of people out there who are criticizing BuzzFeed for publishing this document, because normally in journalism, you don't publish just allegations that aren't unsubstantiated. That's a no-no. You don't publish like rumors about someone if there's no evidence to back them up. If it didn't come from like a source you can verify, or you don't just say like you don't just publish things that say like person X did Y with no evidence to back it up, because at a certain point that's just like you're just throwing things out there with no evidence, and you're just spreading rumors without anything to back them up. And that's a big no-no in journalism, and I think for good reason. This morning, and this is basically what BuzzFeed did. So BuzzFeed, they don't have any substantiation that this document is legit, but they published it anyway. And if you go online today, there are a bunch of people, including people who are not pro-Trump people. Glenn Greenwald, who's not pro-Trump, published. He tweeted a criticism of this decision to publish this. This woman I know, Julia Ioff, tweeted something being critical of BuzzFeed. There's lots of criticism of BuzzFeed out there for publishing this because it's unsubstantiated. Now, BuzzFeed itself defended it, and I find what BuzzFeed said defending publishing this document very revealing. So the New York Times story about this quoted what BuzzFeed wrote defending this. So BuzzFeed, this is what BuzzFeed said in defense of their publishing this document about Trump, which was totally unsubstantiated. They said, BuzzFeed News is publishing the full document so that Americans can make up their own minds about allegations about the president-elect that have circulated at the highest levels of the U.S. government. So let me say this one part again. BuzzFeed News is publishing the full document so that Americans can make up their own minds. See, my problem about this is that when you're a major news outlet and you publish something, you're not letting Americans make up their own minds. Because when a lot of Americans, when they see a major news outlet publish something, they assume, and I think rightfully, there's an assumption that news outlets only publish stories that they have some reason to think is true. So, if an average person reads a story on the New York Times that's published, they assume, and I think rightfully, because the New York Times published it, that there's some reason to think it's true. So they think there's some reason to believe it. Similarly, if BuzzFeed publishes something...
Good, keep going, Noah. All set? Check 1, 2, malt box.
There is some reason to think it's true. But there isn't any reason to think it's true, at least not that we're aware of. So when BuzzFeed publishes this, they imply to Americans that there is reason to think it's true, so they're no longer letting Americans make up their own minds, because they're sort of trying to make up Americans' mind for them, because in the act of publishing it, they're suggesting to Americans it's true, just by publishing it, instead of, but they know it's not true. So you might say they're like biasing Americans in a way. If they were really letting Americans make up their own minds about this, they wouldn't do anything.
Check 2, malt box. Check 1, 2, 3, 4. Good? Okay, thank you.
By publishing it, they're trying to help make Americans' minds up for them. And one other quote I want to say from BuzzFeed, and this really bothered me. So BuzzFeed, apparently there was concern within the BuzzFeed office that this shouldn't be published. And there was a memo that went out to everyone who works at BuzzFeed, an internal memo. And I should say, I don't know if it went out to literally everyone who works there, but it was an internal memo, so I know it was that. And this internal memo, part of what it said was this. This was an internal memo in BuzzFeed explaining why they published this unsubstantiated document. And it said, and it's called, they say dossier, a folder of information. So the word dossier is in this quote. This internal memo said this: publishing this dossier reflects how we see the job of reporters in 2017. Let me say that again. This is what BuzzFeed said in their internal memo. Publishing this dossier reflects how we see the job of reporters in 2017. So I guess this means that BuzzFeed sees the job of reporters in 2017 to literally put information out there that in no way is corroborated. How are they even reporters if they're doing that? Like, are they even reporting, or are they just throwing stuff on their website? I mean, it's like if you're willing to just publish anything you see written on any piece of paper or typed on any or on any you see on any computer screen without at all verifying it, is that really reporting anymore? And is that the job of reporters in 2017? It seems like if they think that's the job of reporters in 2017, they think that in 2017 there's no longer like the institution of journalism as we know it no longer exists. So, anyways, I'm bothered by this BuzzFeed thing, and I'm spending so much time on it just because it's so out there today. Turn on the news, you'll see it. Look in all the major newspapers online, you'll see it. And I'm worried that it's going to come up at the press conference and it threatens to derail things, or at least there will be too many questions about it, and questions that could otherwise be asked about important issues America cares about. So let me go back now to Twitter and see if we have any other comments. Again, you can, if you want to reach out to me, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the press conference. Direct message me on Twitter, at Lookner, at Lookner. Please direct message me and don't reply to one of my texts, because it's easier for me to get if you direct message me. Okay, so we do have some messages here. Hold on, though. Let me clean up what's going on my iPad so I can actually make sense of all this. All right. So go to inbox. Let's see here. Again, we are right now waiting for the. I should say this again. Hold on. I'm trying to do things at once. Let me say this. We're waiting, very exciting, for Donald Trump's press conference, his first press conference as president-elect after the election. We're carrying it live here. It's scheduled to start in about 16 minutes. Now, if you've been following the Trump campaign, you know sometimes he starts things a bit late. So, if you tune in, if you're watching and it gets to, the top of the hour and he hasn't started yet, I wouldn't worry about it. He's going to be there. So let's see. Oh, see, BuzzFeed is now killing. This is what's happening right now. BuzzFeed has done something bad to my iPad. I have to restart Safari. I think BuzzFeed has. Maybe it hasn't. But whenever I try to open up my Twitter account and I try to open my Twitter messages, all I'm getting is this BuzzFeed story. Now that I closed BuzzFeed, I can open up my Twitter messages. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but anyways, it worked. Okay, we have some feedback here. Someone named Mr. Chachid out there says. Do you think George Soros is manipulating the media and spreading these fake news? I personally don't know about this. This is something that, I do see this allegation thrown out there about George Soros, and it's funny. George Soros is he's one of these mysterious figures where it's I'm aware that he funds lots of organizations and that he doesn't like Trump, but I do feel also that he's also someone who people suspect a lot of stuff, and I don't like operating on rumor. So I personally will say to you, Mr. Chachin, I don't have information about this, but that's very. I just got a little exciting news here, so I'll tell you in a second. I don't personally know of George Soros manipulating things, but I'm not saying it's not true. I would say if I were you and I wanted to know about this, you have the internet there, I assume, because you're tweeting to me. Go look it up, see if you can find some research, do some research on it, see what's out there. But it might be. If someone like George Soros is manipulating the media, as you claim, they might cover their tracks well, so you might not be able to find stuff. But so I leave it to you to investigate. I am not going to. Just like I'm not going to buy into this BuzzFeed thing without evidence, I'm not going to buy into any charges about the left without any evidence that I have. So that's my response. But thank you for the question, Mr. Chachin. Cassie Dillon actually momentarily is going to be calling in here. I'm so excited. I have my phone right here. Cassie Dillon is the Right Side Broadcasting. She's the co-host of the show Raised Right. In the show Raised Right, if you haven't seen it, It's a really neat show. It's about the experience of conservative college students today, basically. So Cassie and the other host, Will Nardi, they are both college students right now, and they are conservatives. And on the show, they talk about what it's like to be a conservative in college now, which is, believe me, not an easy thing. It's very difficult in a lot of places. They interview other college students. They show footage of certain events that happen at colleges. Like they'll show footage of an event where, say, a well-known conservative speaker will go to the college and like students try to shut down the actual speech so that they don't even let the person speak. So if you're interested in that, it's really cool. And Cassie's on the phone right now. So let me get this going here. Hold on. I'm excited. Hello, Cassie? Hold on, Cassie, could you speak again so I can make sure we can hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So we have Cassie Dillon on the phone. Cassie, we're on the air live on Right Side now. And as the viewers know, Cassie, I was just telling them about how cool a show Raised Right is, and how it talks about a really neat topic. And so I hope they all tune in if they haven't tuned in yet. Thank you for calling in. I'm interested in getting your thoughts this morning on what you're thinking about this press conference. What are you looking forward to? What concerns do you have? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just really excited it's even going on. It's been, I think I thought 4 or 6 months since the last time Trump had a press conference, so it's going to be really exciting, and I always love watching his press conferences because he's a perfect troll. He definitely trolls the mainstream media when they ask him questions. But I do think that this press conference is really important because we're going to hear about his business ties and if he's actually going to close down the Trump Jr. Foundation, and we're also going to hear his stance on what's going on with Russia. So I think it's going to be a really important hearing, and then we're also going to hear him talk about the confirmations that are going on in the Senate right now. There are explosions going on right now, and it's really good. This guy blew me away. He's way better than I thought. So there's so much for him to talk about, and I wouldn't be surprised if this press conference goes on for a very long time. Yeah,
you're right. There's so much stuff to talk about, especially because there hasn't been one since the election, and as you said, I think the last one was 6 months ago. So getting on to the Russia thing you brought up, Cassie. So were you following this BuzzFeed stuff this morning and last night?
Well, I was filming Raised Right last night, so once that was done, I was looking into it, and it is the absolutely craziest thing I've ever seen, that 4chan actually took credit for what happened because they trolled BuzzFeed so hard that BuzzFeed believed this false report and reported it and broke their credibility. It sounds like exactly what happened with Gawker, and I am loving watching BuzzFeed be embarrassed. I hate BuzzFeed. I think they're terrible. They call themselves news, but they're really fake news. So it's awesome watching them get trolled like this. Now,
the thing for 4chan you mentioned, this is just for our viewers who might not know what 4chan is. 4chan is like a bulletin board discussion site online. And I think the story you're referring to is there are people on 4chan who are claiming that this document that BuzzFeed published with allegations about Trump was actually originated from 4chan, from somebody on 4chan, and it was just like a hoax kind of thing. Now, I want to say, just for the record, I've seen people online deny that it came from 4chan. So, just factually speaking, I want to say that view is out there too. But I think it just points out that as of now, this stuff is totally unsubstantiated. And I'm interested in getting your take, Cassie. So, do you think reporters, because it's been on the news so much the last day or so, that reporters are going to ask about this allegation stuff? And do you think it threatens to derail or crowd out other more issues that President-elect Trump wants to talk about today?
Usually I'd want to say no, and so the mainstream media would actually ask a valuable question, but we saw throughout the campaign that they would rather talk about gossip than talk about the real issues. So I have no faith in them. I do not think that they're going to talk about the important things, the confirmations. Instead, I think they're going to try getting some clickbait headlines and ask these ridiculous questions about unsubstantiated reports that are clearly fake and false and ridiculous to even report in the first place.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I worry that I think they love trying to get Trump riled up because they think it makes good TV. So I'm worried that they'll try to really needle him on it just for that reason alone. So I really hope it doesn't happen because I want to hear him talk about all the things that you mentioned. By the way, can you catch us up? So I've been in here right now, doing this, and a lot of people who've been watching this haven't been able to watch the hearings this morning. So it sounds like you've seen some of the Rex Tillerson hearings and you were impressed. Can you say a little more about that? So you really liked how he came off during the hearings?
Yes, I really do. He was a lot more informed than I thought he'd be. Obviously, I knew that he'd be really informed because the business had a lot to do with that, but the hearings are going pretty great right now. He's been speaking out very publicly against Russia, actually. He said that force might be necessary against Russia, and he also said that they don't have legal claims for Crimea. So he's speaking out against Russia, which goes against every single thing the mainstream media is claiming against Trump and his supposed bromance with Vladimir Putin. So he's definitely coming out strong, and he was just questioned by Marco Rubio about 10 minutes ago, and that went really well. So I have no doubt that he will be confirmed.
So
I think he's a great leader.
So he did actually say he thought that Russia didn't have a legal claim to Crimea.
Yep, he did say that. I'm not sure there was those exact words, but that is exactly
okay. I think that's really important. And as you said, I think that would go against some people's view of what they said the Trump administration position towards Russia would be like. Cassie, I would love to have you talk a bit also. So for those of you who aren't aware, we have like full-on inauguration coverage coming up next week on Right Side Broadcasting. We're going to be covering the inauguration live and also like all the events around it. And one of the people we're going to have there covering it is Cassie Dillon, who's on the phone right now. And Cassie, again, is the co-host of Raised Right on Right Side Broadcasting. Cassie, that's Thursday nights at 7, correct? 7 Eastern?
Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern time, yeah.
7 Eastern. So Thursday nights at 7, watch Raised Right. You can also watch the past episodes on our YouTube site at Right Side. Cassie, can you say a little bit about the kind of stuff you're going to be covering at the inauguration?
Well, the inauguration is going to be one giant mess. DC is already preparing for it. The Metro's going to be packed. So if any of you guys are planning on coming to the inauguration, definitely plan ahead. But while we're there, we're definitely going to be giving some live coverage. We'll be showing the crowds, as we always do. And we'll be talking about what's going on. I'm sure we'll see some protesters, even though they're going to be pushed pretty far back towards the Lincoln Memorial. So you won't be able to see them too much. But we'll definitely get some footage of them and post it on later. But basically, we'll just talk about what's going on, and we'll give you guys a more entertaining feed than what you'll get with other outlets. And we'll try talking to people in the crowd, and it's just going to be a really, really good time, and it's going to be historic.
And are you going to any of the other events besides the ceremony itself?
Yes, of course. I am going to all of the events. I'm going to the parade. I'm going to the balls. I'll be going maybe to the morning prayer concert or prayer session, and then we'll also be going to the Deplorable on the day before the inauguration. So
that's really cool. So you're going to Deplorable, and Will Nardi will be going with you?
Yep, that is exactly what we'll be going.
And you guys will have like a camera there with you, so you can show footage like live from the Deplorable?
Of course, and I'll have a special interview lined up. I'm not going to say who it is now.
Ooh.
It'll be a very special interview, and it'll be with a really big name.
That's really awesome. So I'm looking forward to watching that myself. So please tune in and watch Cassie next week and all of our other coverage on the inauguration. So Cassie, I will let you go because I know you're a busy person. Anything else you want to say about quickly about I'd love to get your take on what are you sort of most interested in hearing about in the press conference coming up?
I really want to hear about Russia and his stance to Russia because that's one of the main things that concerns me about Trump. So I guess we'll hear what happens with that, and I really hope you guys all watch our coverage and definitely tune in to Raised Right on Thursday. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Cassie. Cassie, by the way, what's your Twitter account?
At Cassie Dillon.
Follow at Cassie Dillon. She posts lots of cool stuff. Cassie, thanks so much for calling in, and we look forward to seeing you next week at DC.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye. That was awesome of Cassie to call in. I love when Cassie calls in. She's so good. See, if I didn't say that, I wouldn't just say that. If I didn't think she was good, I would just say thanks for calling in. But she's great when she calls in. We have about, all right, so my watch says 9:55 Central Time, 10:55 Eastern, which means there's 5 minutes to the scheduled of the press conference that Donald Trump will be giving, the President-elect Trump, his first press conference since the election, his first press conference in about 6 months. We are going to be carrying it live. Right here, when it starts, I will magically vanish and we will go full screen with the Donald Trump press conference. We are there, and our reporter, Liz Willis, is there. She is there right now. And she's not like in the back. She's like in the front. She sent out this picture before. She is an awesome place to stand with all the other reporters. And she is going to get to ask a question on behalf of Right Side Broadcasting. We are so excited about this. I am excited. So can't wait. But of course, it may start a little late. These things can always start late. So we'll keep going here. And I also, you guys sent a bunch of of messages. You can message me during the pre-show. Go to Twitter @Lookner, @LOOKNER. Send me a direct message and I can get it here. So let me look at some of the questions you guys have and comments you guys have sent in. Let's see. We have Julia Jedwabski. Julia Jedwabski says, will this stream be live on Trump's Facebook too? So I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe our stream is going to Facebook. So I just got it confirmed here. Yes.
We'll be simulcasting our feed to Trump's Facebook Live.
Okay. So as you just heard from Joe, we are going to be simulcasting our feed to Trump's Facebook Live. So if you watch it on Trump is using us, Right Side, to broadcast live the stream on his Facebook site, which is super cool. We're so excited about that. So you can go to YouTube or you can watch our feed on Trump's Facebook site.
We have Wayne Dupree calling in live now in just a few minutes, if you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah, it's great. That's awesome.
Okay. Also, thank you all for watching, tuning in. You guys are amazing. Hey, the other feeds out there, they're all...
Oh, yeah. So another point Joe makes, well, first of all, hopefully, I think Wayne Dupree is going to call in very soon. We'll get to hear from him. And but as Joe was saying, I think we have Wayne Dupree, so got to get to Wayne. Hold on a second. Hey, Wayne?
Yeah.
Hey, Wayne, it's Steve Lookner from Right Side. You are on live with our live coverage. Thank you so much for calling in.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm watching your beautiful face on the video.
There you go. There you go. So, Wayne, and I'm assuming a lot of our viewers know this, but in case they don't know this, can you just briefly say a little bit about your show, when it's on, and what kind of stuff you do so they can tune in and watch it?
Hey, what's up, people? This is Wayne Dupree of the Wayne Dupree Show that broadcasts on the Right Side Broadcasting Network every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have got a lot of things happening here on the Right Side Broadcasting Network with beautiful shows like this one. And don't forget, at the end of the month, Right Side is going 24/7.
Oh my gosh, 24/7. And Wayne, people, if they're not familiar with your show, they can call into your show and talk on the show live, correct?
You know what? We love that more than interviewing people on the front lines, because when we get people calling in on the show, which is 202-470-6738, when we get people calling in on the show, we get to talk to people that are on the ground. We get to talk to people that have a voice, that have been wanting to be heard for a long time, and they just want somebody to listen. And I know you do that, and I know some more shows on the Right Side Broadcasting Network do that. And let me give a shout out to Joe Seal. That's my brother. I mean, y'all think that we were separated at birth, but we are together all the time.
Joe's awesome, and without Joe, none of this would have happened. So I'm right with you on that. So please, everyone out there, if you've never watched it, tune into Wayne's show and call in. And he wants to hear from you and hear about your opinions on things. So speaking of opinions, Wayne, I want to get your opinion on the upcoming press conference. What are you thinking about? What are you looking forward to? What do you think it's going to be like? Do you have any thoughts on the press conference?
Honestly, I hope that President-elect Trump addresses some of this bull crap that's been going on in the media. Because the media doesn't understand Donald Trump. The media doesn't understand him. They're trying to push him into a political circle, and he's a businessman that we elected to sit in the highest office over these politicians that lied to us, and they're trying to hurt him. But I hope that he addresses this and tells them to knock it off. I mean, you know, he has business to get this country going again, to make America great again. He's got some of the best people possible to help him, and they keep drumming up these stories, these lies, man, and it's pissing a whole lot of us off.
Now, I assume part of what you're upset about is the stuff that came out in the last day, like all this BuzzFeed stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I was just talking about with Cassie. I'm interested in getting your take. How much do you think the media is going to ask about this? And do you think they're going to try to get them riled up? And do you think this is going to interfere with the press conference and interfere with more important issues?
Let me tell you something about the media. Whether it's a lie, well, most things are a lie that the media has been pushing for a long time. But they smell blood in the water. Even though it's a fake story, they're going to go after it no matter what. No matter what he has to say, they're going to go after it. Now, I hope that he smacks them down. I hope that he smacks them down, and anybody that has a blog out there, anybody that has a video podcast, I hope that you use the Right Side Broadcasting Network sample feed, and I hope that if he smacks them down, you share that so that everybody can get it out there that Donald Trump is not going to take crap from this media out here that is out here trying to destroy him and delegitimize his presidency like because Barack Obama's whole entire 8 years was a failure.
Now, Wayne, I'm interested in seeing what you think about this. So it's kind of weird that, like, maybe it's just coincidence, but this whole BuzzFeed thing, like, came out, like, last night. Like, they published the document last night, the night before the press conference, and this story about, like, the intelligence agencies briefing Trump on the document came out last night. So, like, this stuff all came out at the precise time where it would interfere with the press conference. Now, this could be coincidence. Do you think that's a coincidence or not?
You know what? Basically, you got the NAACP, you got your CNN, you got ABC, CBS, NBC, BuzzFeed. You got all these alphabet networks or alphabet organizations. And the way I look at it, they're all full of BULLSH blank blank. That's what I think that all these people are full of. Because, again, they're trying to delegitimize Donald Trump before he gets into office. And look, if you are looking at all the other stuff that Donald Trump has been doing or has had a hand in before he gets into office, he is winning. And the American people are seeing that he's winning. I mean, people are saying, look, I want to invest $1 billion into the company. Oh, I want to bring back 10,000 jobs. Oh, I'm bringing back 20,000 jobs. How can you be mad at that? You know, and right now, talking to you, I am so pissed off.
I can tell you're angry.
Look, the media is mad because we didn't follow their little marching order. We did it on our own. We elected Donald Trump, and anybody out there, and I say this on my radio show, again, on Right Side Broadcasting Network, every night, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. But I say this every time. All of you have a voice. All of you have a voice. And if you continue to listening to the Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you continue listening to these new voices, such as your show right now, if you continue listening to this, you're going to find out that we are going to smack the media back down no matter what they say. And I hope that Donald Trump does that. You see all those media types out there right now, Major Garrett and all of them are old news. They're old news. They, you know what? Honestly, I'm trying to be calm, man. I love you. How you doing? You okay?
Don't hurt yourself by working yourself up too much. Wait, no, and I like your passion, and I get where it's coming from, and I want the media to give him a chance. You know what? If he's president and he doesn't do a good job, there'll be plenty of time to talk about it, and let's see what he does. But I just like let the guy start. He hasn't even gotten it. He's not even inaugurated yet, so let him start and just they just seem to me so eager to report all this stuff about him. And as I was talking about this a little earlier, the problem is when they report allegations, a lot of people just hear that CNN is reporting this and they take it as fact, and they don't, they don't have time to do the research and realize, like, oh, there's this document came out and there's nothing supporting it. And I worry that when they report stuff, it just gets out there, and once it's out there, it's so hard to tell people and convince them, like, no, it's not what you think it is. It's just some report that there's no confirming evidence about. So it bothers me because I want them and I want Americans to at least give him a chance. And then if he doesn't do a good job, you can vote him out in 4 years, but give the guy a chance. Sorry, you were going to say something, Wayne.
And see, both of us are on the same wavelength there, because I know the power of the media. I've been watching them for the last 8 years. As long as I've been doing this, I've been watching them. And I know all they have to do is put out an accusation. MSNBC has been doing it for the last 8 years, and then the next day they come with an apology. Everybody has seen it. But what happened last night is that this story grew tarantula legs all over social media. This thing blew up as quick as possible, and BuzzFeed had the audacity to say, well, we can't confirm some of this stuff, but I tell you what, though, we feel that we have to put it out there, and then we will find out if things are real. It almost sounds like what Pelosi Galore did with Obamacare. Well, we'll sign it to find out.
Put it out to find what's in it. I think, look, I don't know for sure, but to me, it's very possible that BuzzFeed put this out because they're like, it benefits BuzzFeed. What's everybody talking about? There are, I can honestly say, I think there are probably tens of millions of Americans today who had never heard of BuzzFeed and now have heard of BuzzFeed. And they might even have figured like, hey, we get a little flack in the short term if it turns out it's false, but for our business, it's great because everybody's going to go to BuzzFeed now. And they might have just, but I feel like they should, if that's what they do, I don't approve of it because I think you got to have a little more responsibility as the press. I don't know that they did that. I'm just throwing it out as something that might have happened, but I find it worrisome that they might have done that. But I guess we'll see. So Wayne, I'll let you go in a second, but I want to just know anything else you're sort of looking for in the press conference or looking forward to, or things you think might happen or thoughts you have about it.
Honestly, I really hope again that Donald Trump really goes. I mean, if he's pointed or if they go after him on this, I really hope he starts to call out names. I hope he calls out Rick Wilson. I hope he calls out Evan McMullen. I hope he calls out, of all people, Senator John McCain. That's how the thing got to Obama in a dossier or whatnot. Those people are the culprits. Those are the people that should also be held accountable for these lies. But I hope that Donald Trump, if they press him, I hope that he takes the handcuffs off. And I don't care. I don't care if the media says, well, that's not acting presidential. Well, basically what the media is doing right now, they're not acting media journalistic-wise either. I mean, if you're going to put that story out there, you better have some backup. And they don't have backup. They have lies. They have unconfirmed, unverified lies. And I am 100% against what the media has done to President-elect Trump. And I'm like you. Give him the first 100 days. Let's see what he does. If things are rolling at the first 100 days, we will be in office for at least the next 16 years. If things aren't, and I ask everybody out there that's watching Right Side Broadcasting Network right now, you need to hold him accountable. Hold President Trump accountable. But also support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Support this beautiful network because we're going to be holding him accountable here on this show, on the Wayne Dupree Show, and I look forward to seeing y'all tonight. We're going to have call-ins tonight. I want you to call in tonight. I want to hear the same passion that I'm bringing to you right now. I want Americans to bring it so that I can share it with the world. I want y'all to call into this show and let him know some passion. Show some passion. Because if you look like you don't care, then the media is going to run roughshod just like they're trying to do. But I got to go. But one thing is they can't do this. They can't run roughshod over Donald Trump. They might have been able to do it to the other female president, Barack Obama. They might have been able to do it to him. But they can't punk Donald Trump.
Well,
you hear me?
Yeah, Wayne, I love your passion. I think you've given the viewers a really cool thing to watch for during the press conference, so I'll be watching for it too. Viewers, if you want to talk about this more tonight, call into Wayne's show. He wants to hear what you have to say. Wayne, thank you so much for calling in. What's your Twitter account, Wayne?
Wayne Dupree Show. Wayne Dupree Show. I'll be looking forward to hearing y'all later on tonight. Call in, be a part of the Right Side Broadcasting Network. Don't forget to subscribe to this wonderful network. We need to at least have 300 $1,000.
Wayne, we got to go to the press conference. Thanks, Wayne, so much for calling in. We'll see you later on. Thanks so much. We're going to the press conference right now. Let's talk to you afterwards. Bye, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. We are now 9 days away from the inauguration of the next President and Vice President of the United States. It's an opportunity to be here today to allow the President-elect to take your questions. After the President-elect makes some remarks, he will introduce Ms. Sherry Dillon, a prominent attorney in Washington, D.C. with the prestigious firm of Morgan Lewis, who structured the agreements pursuant to the President's business arrangements, and she will give brief remarks. Before we start, I want to bring your attention to a few points on the report that was published in BuzzFeed last night. It's frankly outrageous and highly irresponsible for a left-wing blog that was openly hostile to the President-elect's campaign to drop highly salacious and flat-out false information on the internet just days before he takes the oath of office. According to BuzzFeed's own editor, there are some serious reasons to doubt the allegations in the report. The executive editor of the New York Times also dismissed the report by saying it was, quote, totally unsubstantiated, echoing the concerns that many other reporters expressed on the internet. The fact that BuzzFeed and CNN made the decision to run with this unsubstantiated claim is a sad and pathetic attempt to get clicks. The report is not an intelligence report, plain and simple. One issue that the report talked about was the relationship of three individuals associated with the campaign. These three individuals, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, and Carter Page. Carter Page is an individual who the President-elect does not know and was put on notice months ago by the campaign. Paul Manafort has adamantly denied any of this involvement, And Michael Cohen, who is said to have visited Prague in August and September, did not leave or enter the United States during this time. We asked him to produce his passport to confirm his whereabouts on the dates in question, and there was no doubt that he was not in Prague. In fact, Mr. Cohen has never been in Prague. A new report actually suggests that Michael Cohen was at the University of Southern California with his son at a baseball game. One report now suggests that apparently it's another Michael Cohen. For all the talk lately about fake news, this political witch hunt by some in the media is based on some of the most flimsy reporting, and it's frankly shameful and disgraceful. With that, it is my honor to introduce the next Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
We are 9 days away from the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States of America. I'm profoundly honored and humbled that I will take the oath of office to serve as Vice President of the United States 9 days from today, but I'm even more honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with a new president who will make America great again. Now, the president-elect's leadership and his energy during the campaign was impressive. But as the chairman of the transition effort, I can assure the American people that his energy and his vision during the course of this transition has been even more inspiring. To see the way he has brought together men and women of extraordinary capability at a historic pace in this cabinet. 19 of the 21 cabinet officials have been announced, 9 committee hearings already scheduled, 7 more soon to go on the books in the next several days. And it is a compilation of men and women with an unprecedented caliber of leadership and background to help this administration move our nation forward. Perhaps that's why there's been such a concerted effort by some in the mainstream media to delegitimize this election and to demean our incoming administration. You know, I have long been a supporter of a free and independent press, and I always will be. But with freedom comes responsibility. And the irresponsible decision of a few news organizations to run with a false and unsubstantiated report when most news organizations resisted the temptation to propagate this fake news can only be attributed to media bias, an attempt to demean the president-elect and our incoming administration, and the American people are sick and tired of it. But today, we'll get back to real news, to real facts, and the real progress our incoming president has already made in reviving the American economy and assembling a team that will make America great again. And we'll hear from the president-elect about issues that are of paramount importance to the American people today. So it is my honor to introduce to all of you my friend and the president-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. It's very familiar territory, news conferences, because we used to give them on a almost daily basis. I think we probably maybe won the nomination because of news conferences, and it's good to be with you. We stopped giving them because we were getting quite a bit of inaccurate news, but I do have to say that, and I must say that I want to thank a lot of the news organizations here today, because they looked at that nonsense that was released by maybe the intelligence agencies. Who knows? But maybe the intelligence agencies, which would be a tremendous blot on their record if they in fact did that. A tremendous blot. Because a thing like that should have never been written, it should never have been had, and it should certainly never have been released. But I want to thank a lot of the news organizations, for some of whom have not treated me very well over the years, a couple in particular, and they came out so strongly against that fake news. and the fact that it was written about by primarily one group and one television station. So I just want to compliment many of the people in the room. I have great respect for the news and great respect for freedom of the press and all of that, but I will tell you there were some news organizations, with all that was just said, that were so professional, so incredibly professional, that I've just gone up a notch as to what I think of you, okay? All right. We've had some great news over the last couple of weeks. I've been quite active, I guess you could say, in an economic way for the country. A lot of car companies are going to be moving in. We have other companies. Big news is going to be announced over the next couple of weeks about companies that are going to be building in the Midwest. You saw yesterday Fiat, Chrysler, big factory going to be built in this country as opposed to another country. Ford just announced that they stopped plans for a billion-dollar plant in Mexico, and they're going to be moving into Michigan and expanding very substantially an existing plant. I appreciate that from Ford. I appreciate it very much from Fiat Chrysler. I hope that General Motors will be following, and I think they will be. I think a lot of people will be following. I think a lot of industries are going to be coming back. We have to get our drug industry coming back. Our drug industry has been disastrous. They're leaving left and right. They supply our drugs, but they don't make them here to a large extent. And the other thing we have to do is create new bidding procedures for the drug industry because they're getting away with murder. Pharma has a lot of lobbies, a lot of lobbyists, and a lot of power. And there's very little bidding on drugs. We're the largest buyer of drugs in the world, and yet we don't bid properly. And we're going to start bidding, and we're going to save billions of dollars over a period of time. And we're going to do that with a lot of other industries. I'm very much involved with the generals and admirals on the airplane, the F-35. You've been reading about it. And it's way behind schedule and many billions of dollars over budget. I don't like that. And the admirals have been fantastic. The generals have been fantastic. I've really gotten to know them well. And we're going to do some big things on the F-35 program and perhaps the F-18 program. And we're going to get those costs way down, and we're going to get the plane to be even better, and we're going to have some competition, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So we've been very much involved, and other things. We had Jack Ma. We had so many incredible people coming here. Mr. Arnault. They're going to do tremendous things in this country. And they're very excited. And I will say, if the election didn't turn out the way it turned out, they would not be here. They would not be in my office. They would not be in anybody else's office. They'd be building and doing things in other countries. So there's a great spirit going on right now, a spirit that many people have told me they've never seen before, ever. We're going to create jobs. I said that I will be the greatest jobs producer that God ever created. And I mean that. I'm going to work very hard on that. We need certain amounts of other things, including a little bit of luck. But I think we're going to do a real job. And I'm very proud of what we've done, and we haven't even gotten there yet. I look very much forward to the inauguration. It's going to be a beautiful event. We have great talent, tremendous talent. And we have all of the bands, or most of the bands, from the different segments of the military. And I've heard some of these bands over the years. They're incredible. We're going to have a very elegant day. The 20th is going to be something that will be very special, very beautiful. And I think we're going to have massive crowds because we have a movement. It's a movement like the world has never seen before. It's a movement that a lot of people didn't expect. And even the polls, although some of them did get it right, but many of them didn't. And that was a beautiful scene on November 8th. As those states started to pour in. And we focused very hard on those states, and they really reciprocated. And those states are going to have a lot of jobs, and they're going to have a lot of security. They're going to have a lot of good news for their veterans. And by the way, speaking of veterans, I appointed today the head secretary of the Veterans Administration, David Shulkin. And we'll do a news release in a little while, tell you about David. He's fantastic. He's fantastic. He will do a truly great job. One of the commitments I made is that we're going to straighten out the whole situation for our veterans. Our veterans have been treated horribly. They're waiting in line for 15, 16, 17 days. Cases where they go in and they have a minor early stage form of cancer and they can't see a doctor. By the time they get to the doctor, they're terminal. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So David is going to do a fantastic job. We're going to be talking to a few people also to help David. And we have some of the great hospitals of the world going to align themselves with us on the Veterans Administration, like the Cleveland Clinic, like the Mayo Clinic, a few more that we have. And we're going to set up a group. These are hospitals that have been the top of the line, the absolute top of the line. And they're going to get together with their great doctors. Dr. Toby Cosgrove, as you know, from the Cleveland Clinic, has been very involved. Ike Perlmutter has been very, very involved, one of the great men of business. And we're going to straighten out the VA for our veterans. I've been promising that for a long time. And it's something I feel very, very strongly. So you'll get the information on David, and I think you'll be very impressed with the job he does. We looked long and hard. We interviewed at least 100 people, some good, some not so good, but we had a lot of talent, and we think this selection will be something that will, with time, straighten it out, and straighten it out for good, because our veterans have been treated very unfairly. Okay, questions? Yes, John? Thank you. Sure.
First of all, did the heads of the intelligence agencies provide you with a two-page summary of these unsubstantiated allegations? And secondly to that, in the broader picture, do you accept their opinion that Vladimir Putin ordered the hack of the DNC and the attention hack of the RSBN? And if you do, how will that color your attempt to build a relationship with a leader who has been accused of committing an act of espionage?
Okay, first of all, these meetings, as you know, are confidential, classified. So I'm not allowed to talk about what went on in a meeting. But we had many witnesses in that meeting, many of them with us. And I will say again, I think it's a disgrace that information would be let out. I saw the information, I read the information outside of that meeting. It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. And it was gotten by opponents of ours, as you know, because you reported it, and so did many of the other people. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together. So I will tell you that not within the meeting, but outside of the meeting, somebody released it. It should never have been, number one, shouldn't have even entered paper, but it should never have been released. But I read what was released, and I think it's a disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace. As far as hacking, I think it was Russia, but I think we also get hacked by other countries and other people. And I can say that, you know, when we lost 22 million names and everything else that was hacked recently, they didn't make a big deal out of that. That was something that was extraordinary. That was probably China. We have much hacking going on. And one of the things we're going to do, we have some of the greatest computer minds anywhere in the world that we've assembled. You saw just a sample of it 2 weeks ago up here, where we had the 6 top people in the world. They were never in the same room together as a group. And we're going to put those minds together, and we're going to form a defense. And I have to say this also. The Democratic National Committee was totally open to be hacked. They did a very poor job. They could have had hacking defense, which we had. And I will give Reince Priebus credit, because when Reince saw what was happening in the world and with this country, he went out and went to various firms and ordered a very, very strong hacking defense. And they tried to hack the Republican National Committee, and they were unable to break through. We have to do that for our country. It's very important.
How could all of this potentially color your attempt to build a better relationship
Well, you know, President Putin and Russia put out a statement today that this fake news was indeed fake news. They said it totally never happened. Now, somebody would say, oh, of course he's going to say that. I respected the fact that he said that. And I'll be honest, I think if he did have something, they would have released it. They would have been glad to release it. I think, frankly, had they broken into the Republican National Committee, I think they would have released it just like they did about Hillary and all of the horrible things that her people, like Mr. Podesta, said about her. I mean, what he said about her was horrible. If somebody said about me what Podesta said about Hillary, I was the boss, I would have fired him immediately, or that person, because what he said about her was horrible. But remember this, we talk about the hacking, and hacking's bad, and it shouldn't be done. But look at the things that were hacked. Look at what was learned from that hacking. That Hillary Clinton got the questions to the debate and didn't report it? That's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing. Can you imagine that if Donald Trump got the questions to the debate, it would have been the biggest story in the history of stories. And they would have said, immediately you have to get out of the race. Nobody even talked about it. It's a very terrible thing. Yeah.
The second part of the conclusion was that Vladimir Putin ordered it because he aspired to help you in the election. Do you accept that part of the finding? And will you undo what President Obama did to plunge the election?
Well, if Putin likes Donald Trump, I consider that an asset, not a liability, because we have a horrible relationship with Russia. Russia can help us fight ISIS, which, by the way, is number one tricky. I mean, if you look, this administration created ISIS by leaving at the wrong time. The void was created, ISIS was formed. If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't. And if I don't, do you honestly believe that Hillary would be tougher on Putin than me? Does anybody in this room really believe that? Give me a break. Okay.
You engaged in conduct you now regret, and that a reason.
No, I didn't. Well, let me tell you. Yeah. Let me just tell you what I do. When I leave our country, I'm a very high-profile person, would you say? I am extremely careful. I'm surrounded by bodyguards. I'm surrounded by people. And I always tell them, anywhere, but I always tell them, if I'm leaving this country, be very careful, because in your hotel rooms, and no matter where you go, you're going to probably have cameras. I'm not referring just to Russia, but I would certainly put them in that category. And number one, I hope you're going to be good anyway. But in those rooms, you have cameras in the strangest places. Cameras that are so small with modern technology, you can't see them and you won't know. You better be careful, or you'll be watching yourself on nightly television. I tell this to people all the time. I was in Russia years ago with the Miss Universe contest, which did very well. Moscow, the Moscow area, did very, very well. And I told many people, be careful, because you don't want to see yourself on television. Cameras all over the place. And again, not just Russia, all over. Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
Based on your comments here today, do you believe that hacking was justified? Does Russia have any leverage over you, financial or otherwise? And if not, will you release it?
So I tweeted out that I have no dealings with Russia. I have no deals in Russia. I have no deals that could happen in Russia because we've stayed away. And I have no loans with Russia. As a real estate developer, I have very, very little debt. I have assets that are, and now people have found out how big the company is. I have very little debt. I have very low debt. But I have no loans with Russia at all. And I thought that was important to put out. I certify that. So I have no deals. I have no loans. And I have no dealings. We could make deals in Russia very easily if we wanted to. I just don't want to because I think that would be a conflict. So I have no loans, no dealings, and no current pending deals. Now, I have to say one other thing. Over the weekend, I was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai with a very, very, very amazing man, a great, great developer from the Middle East, Hussein Damak, a friend of mine, great guy, and was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai, number of deals. And I turned it down. I didn't have to turn it down because, as you know, I have a no-conflict situation because I'm president, which is, I didn't know about that until about 3 months ago, but it's a nice thing to have. But I don't want to take advantage of something. I have something that others don't have. Vice President Pence also has it. I don't think he'll need it. I have a feeling he's not going to need it. But I have a no conflict of interest provision as president. It was many, many years old. This is for presidents because they don't want presidents getting, I understand, they don't want presidents getting tangled up in minutiae. They want a president to run the country. So I could actually run my business. I could actually run my business and run government at the same time. I don't like the way that looks, but I would be able to do that if I wanted to. I'd be the only one that would be able to do that. You can't do that in any other capacity. But as a president, I could run the Trump Organization, great, great company, and I could run the company, the country. I do a very good job, but I don't want to do that. Now, all of these papers that you see here, yes, go ahead, Haley. Sure. Well, I'm not releasing the tax returns because, as you know, they're under audit. Oh, gee, I've never heard that. Oh, gee, I've never heard that. I've never heard that before. You know, the only one that cares about my tax returns are the reporters, okay? They're the only ones. But no, I don't think so. I won. I mean, I became president. No, I don't think they care at all. I don't think they care at all. I think you care. I think you care. First of all, you learn very little from a tax return. What you should do is go down to federal elections and take a look at the numbers. And actually, people have learned a lot about my company, and now they realize my company is much bigger, much more powerful than they ever thought. We're in many, many countries, and I'm very proud of it. And what I'm going to be doing is my two sons, who are right here, Don and Eric, are going to be running the company. They are going to be running it in a very professional manner. They're not going to discuss it with me. Again, I don't have to do this. They're not going to discuss it with me. And with that, I'm going to bring up Sherry Dillon, and she's going to go, these papers are just some of the many documents that I've signed, turning over complete and total control to my sons.
Oops. Good morning. It's my honor and privilege to be here today at President-elect Trump's request. He's asked me, as you just heard, to speak about the conflicts of interest and the steps he's taking. As you know, the business empire built by President-elect Trump over the years is massive, not dissimilar to the fortunes of Nelson Rockefeller when he became vice president. But at that time, no one was so concerned. President-elect Trump wants the American public to rest assured that all of his efforts are directed to pursuing the people's business and not his own. To that end, as he explained a few moments ago, he directed me and my colleagues at the law firm Morgan, Lewis & Bockius to design a structure for his business empire that would completely isolate him from the management of the company. He further instructed that we build in protections that will assure the American people the decisions he makes and the actions that he takes as president are for their benefit and not to support his financial interests. As he said, he's voluntarily taking this on. The conflicts of interest laws simply do not apply to the president or the vice president, and they are not required to separate themselves from their financial assets. The primary conflicts of interest statute, since some have questioned this, is Section 18 U.S.C. 208, and it's simply inapplicable by its terms. And this is not just our interpretation. It's Congress itself who made this clear in 1989 when it amended Section 18 U.S.C. 202 to state that, except as otherwise provided, the terms office and employee in Section 208 shall not include the President. Even so, President-elect Trump wants there to be no doubt in the minds of the American public that he is completely isolating himself from his business interests. He instructed us to take all steps realistically possible to make it clear that he is not exploiting the office of the presidency for his personal benefit. He also sought the guidance of individuals who are familiar with and have worked extensively in the fields of government ethics and constitutional law. Critical to the Morgan Lewis team is Fred Fielding, standing here to our side and with us today, and many of you have known him. He has served several presidents over the years, including serving as counsel to Presidents Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush, as well as serving on President George H.W. Bush's Commission on Federal Ethics Law Reform, and he also held the position of Vice Chair of the Ethics Resource Center. Mr. Fielding has been extensively involved with and approved this plan. He's here today to support the plan, and he will continue to provide guidance as the plan is implemented and as Eric, Don, along with others, take over management of the Trump Organization. I'm going to detail some of the extraordinary steps now that the President-elect is taking. First, President-elect Trump's investments in business assets, commonly known as the Trump Organization, comprising hundreds of entities, which again, if you all go and take a look at his financial disclosure statement, the pages and pages and pages of entities have all been or will be conveyed to a trust prior to January 20th. Here is just some of the paperwork that's taking care of those actions. Second, through the trust agreement, he has relinquished leadership and management of the Trump Organization to his sons, Don and Eric, and a longtime Trump executive, Alan Weisselberg. Together, Don, Eric, and Alan will have the authority to manage the Trump Organization and will make decisions for the duration of the presidency without any involvement whatsoever by President-elect Trump. Further, at the President-elect's direction, the trust agreement provides to ensure the Trump Organization continues to operate in accordance with the highest and legal ethics standards, an ethics advisor will be appointed to the management team. The written approval of the ethics advisor will be required for new deals, actions, and transactions that could potentially raise ethics or conflicts of interest concerns. President-elect Trump, as well as Don, Eric, and Alan, are committed to ensuring that the activities of the Trump Organization are beyond reproach and cannot be perceived to be exploitive of the office of the presidency. President-elect Trump will resign from all officer and other positions he holds with the Trump Organization entities. Further, in addition, his daughter Ivanka will have no further involvement with or management authority whatsoever with the Trump Organization. As she and Jared move their family to D.C., Ivanka will be focused on settling her children into their new homes and their new schools. The President-elect has also already disposed of all of his investments in publicly traded or easily liquidated investments. As a result, the trust will have two types of assets. First, it will hold liquid assets, cash, cash equivalents, and treasuries, and perhaps some positions in a government-approved diversified portfolio, one that is consistent with the regulations from the Office of Government Ethics. Second, the trust is going to hold his pre-existing, illiquid, but very valuable business assets, the ones that everyone here is familiar with: Trump-owned, operated, and branded golf clubs, commercial rental property, resorts, hotels, rights to royalties from pre-existing licenses of Trump marks, productions, and goods. So things like Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, all of his other business assets, 40 Wall Street, will all be in the trust. Through instructions in the trust agreement, President-elect Trump first ordered that all pending deals be terminated. This impacted more than 30 deals, many of which were set to close by the end of 2016. As you can well imagine, that caused an immediate financial loss of millions of dollars, not just for President-elect Trump, but also for Don, Ivanka, and Eric. The trust agreement, as directed by President Trump, imposes severe restrictions on new deals. No new foreign deals will be made whatsoever during the duration of President Trump's presidency. New domestic deals will be allowed, but they will go through a vigorous vetting process. The President-elect will have no role in deciding whether the Trump Organization engages in any new deal, and he will only know of a deal if he reads it in the paper or sees it on TV. Because any new deal could, and I emphasize could, be perceived as causing a conflict or as exploiting the office of the presidency, new deals must be vetted with the ethics advisor, whose role will be to analyze any potential transactions for conflicts and ethics issues. The ethics advisor will be a recognized expert in the field of government experts. Again, his role will be to scrutinize the new deals and the actions, and any new deal must receive written approval. To further reinforce the wall that we are building between President-elect Trump and the Trump Organization, President-elect Trump has ordered, through his trust agreement, to sharply limit his information rights. Reports will only be available and reflect profit and loss on the company as a whole. There will be no separate business-by-business accounting. Another step that President-elect Trump has taken is he created a new position at the Trump Organization, the position of Chief Compliance Counsel, whose responsibility will be to ensure that the Trump businesses, again, are operating at the highest levels of integrity and not taking any actions that could be perceived as exploiting the office of the presidency. He has also directed that no communications of the Trump Organization, including social media accounts, will reference or be tied to President-elect Trump's role as President of the United States or the office of the presidency. In sum, all of these actions, complete relinquishment of management, no foreign deals, ethics advisor approval of deals, sharply limited information rights, will sever President-elect Trump's presidency from the Trump Organization. Some have asked questions. Why not divest? Why not just sell everything? Form a blind trust? And I'd like to turn to addressing some of those questions now. Selling, first and foremost, would not eliminate possibilities of conflicts of interest. In fact, it would exacerbate them. The Trump brand is key to the value of the Trump Organization's assets. If President-elect Trump sold his brand, he would be entitled to royalties for the use of it, and this would result in the trust retaining an interest in the brand without the ability to assure that it does not exploit the office of the presidency. Further, whatever price was paid would be subject to criticism and scrutiny. Was it too high? Is there pay for play? Was it too much paid to curry favor with the president-elect? And selling his assets without the rights to the brand would greatly diminish the value of the assets and create a fire sale. President-elect Trump should not be expected to destroy the company he built. This plan offers a suitable alternative to address the concerns of the American people. And selling the entire Trump Organization isn't even feasible. Some people have suggested that the president-elect sell the business to his adult children. This would require massive third-party debt, sourced with multiple lenders whose motives and willingness to participate would be questioned and undoubtedly investigated. And if the president-elect were to finance the sale himself, he would retain the financial interests in the assets that he owns now. Some people have suggested that that President-elect Trump could bundle the assets and turn the Trump Organization into a public company. Anyone who's ever gone through this extraordinarily cumbersome and complicated process knows that it is a non-starter. It is not realistic, and it would be inappropriate for the Trump Organization. Some people have suggested a blind trust, but you cannot have a totally blind trust with operating businesses. President Trump can't unknow he owns Trump Tower, and the press will make sure that any new developments at the Trump Organization are well publicized. Further, it would be impossible to find an institutional trustee that would be competent to run the Trump Organization. The approach he is taking allows Don and Eric to preserve this great company and its iconic assets. And this approach is best from a conflicts and ethics perspective. It creates a complete separation from President-elect Trump and separates him and prevents him from participating in the business, imposes strict limits on what the trustees can do, and requires the assent of any ethics advisor to a new deal. I'm going to turn to one last topic today that has been of interest lately, called emoluments. That's a word I think we've all become familiar with and perhaps had not heard before. And we're going to describe some other actions the President-elect Trump is taking to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. Emoluments comes from the Constitution. The Constitution says officials may not accept gifts, titles of nobility, or emoluments from foreign governments with respect to their office, and that no benefit should be derived by holding an office. The so-called emoluments clause has never been interpreted, however, to apply to fair value exchanges that have absolutely nothing to do with an office holder. No one would have thought when the Constitution was written that paying your hotel bill was an emolument. Instead, it would have been thought of as a value for value exchange, not a gift, not a title, and not an emolument. But since President-elect Trump has been elected, some people want to define emoluments to cover routine business transactions, like paying for hotel rooms. They suggest that the Constitution prohibits the businesses from even arm's-length transactions that the President-elect has absolutely nothing to do with and isn't even aware of. These people are wrong. This is not what the Constitution says. Paying for a hotel room is not a gift or a present, and it has nothing to do with an office. It's not an emolument. The Constitution does not require President-elect Trump to do anything here. But just like with conflicts of interest, he wants to do more than what the Constitution requires. So President-elect Trump has decided, and we are announcing today, that he is going to voluntarily donate all profits from foreign government payments made to his hotels to the United States Treasury. This way, it is the American people who will profit. In sum, I and President-elect's other advisors at Morgan Lewis have determined the approach we've outlined today will avoid potential conflicts of interest or concerns regarding exploitation of the office of the presidency without imposing unnecessary and unreasonable losses on the President-elect and his family. We believe this structure and these steps will serve to accomplish the President-elect's desire to be isolated from his business interests and give the American people confidence that his sole business and interest is in making America great again, bringing back jobs to this country, securing our borders, and rebuilding our infrastructure. The American people were well aware of President-elect Trump's business empire and financial interests when they voted. Many people voted for him precisely because of his business success. President-elect Trump wants to bring this success to all Americans. Thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure. Good. Oops. I don't want to lose your notes.
Thank you very much. Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is your response to your critics that say not only you, but also your cabinet is filled with conflicts of interest, and you plan to set an example in the future to make sure that your cabinet and everyone around you?
Right, good question. I really think that when you watch what's going on with what's happening in Washington, I was just watching, as an example, Rex Tillerson. I think it's brilliant what he's doing and what he's saying. I watched yesterday, as you know, our great senator who is going to be a great attorney general, and he was brilliant. And what people don't know is that he was a great prosecutor and attorney general in Alabama, and he was brilliant yesterday. So I really think that I think we have one of the great cabinets ever put together. And we've been hearing that from so many people. People are so happy. You know, in the case of Rex, he ran incredibly ExxonMobil. When there was a find, he would get it. When they needed something, he would be there. A friend of mine who's very, very substantial in the oil business, Harold Hamm, big supporter, he said, there's nobody in the business like Rex Tillerson. And that's what we want. That's what I want to bring to government. I want to bring the greatest people into government because we're way behind. We don't make good deals anymore. I say it all the time at speeches. We don't make good deals anymore. We make bad deals. Our trade deals are a disaster. We have hundreds of billions of dollars of losses on a yearly basis, hundreds of billions with China on trade and trade imbalance, with Japan, with Mexico, with just about everybody. We don't make good deals anymore. So we need people that are smart. We need people that are successful. And they got successful because, generally speaking, they're smart. And that's what I put. I'm very proud of the cabinet. I think they're doing very well. It's very interesting how it's going, but I think they're doing very, very well. Yeah.
Can you be specific on what guidance you're giving congressional Republicans on the timeline for repeal and replace?
Sure.
Whether it needs to be simultaneous.
Finally, Obamacare. I thought it was never going to be asked. Uh-oh. Yeah. You're going to be very, very proud, as not only the media and reporters, you're going to be very proud of what we put forth having to do with health care. Obamacare is a complete and total disaster. They can say what they want. They can guide you any way they want to guide you. In some cases, they guide you incorrectly. In most cases, you realize what's happened. It's imploding as we sit. Some states have over 100% increase. And 17, and I said this 2 years ago, 17 is going to be the bad year. It's going to be catastrophic. Frankly, we could sit back, and it was a thought from a political standpoint, but it wouldn't be fair to the people. We could sit back and wait and watch and criticize. And we could be a Chuck Schumer and sit back and criticize it, and people would come, they would come, begging to us, please, we have to do something about Obamacare. We don't want to own it. We don't want to own it politically. They own it right now. So the easiest thing would be to let it implode in 17, and believe me, we'd get pretty much whatever we wanted, but it would take a long time. We're going to be submitting, as soon as our secretary is approved, almost simultaneously, shortly thereafter, a plan. It'll be repeal and replace. It will be essentially simultaneously. It will be various segments, you understand, but will most likely be on the same day or the same week, but probably the same day, could be the same hour. So we're going to do repeal and replace, very complicated stuff. And we're going to get a health bill passed. We're going to get health care taken care of in this country. You have deductibles that are so high that after people go broke paying their premiums, which are going through the roof, the health care can't even be used by them because the deductibles are so high. Obamacare is the Democrats' problem. We are going to take the problem off the shelves for them. We're doing them a tremendous service by doing it. We could sit back and let them hang with it. We are doing the Democrats a great service. So as soon as our secretary is approved and gets into the office, we'll be filing a plan. And it was actually pretty accurately reported today, the New York Times. And the plan will be repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to have a health care that is far less expensive and far better. Okay. Well, I was going right here. Go ahead, then CBS. Go.
It's a program maybe sitting inside of Commerce. And then my follow-up question to that is how soon will we see the program on capital repatriation and corporate tax cuts?
Well, if I can save jobs, for instance, I was doing individual companies, and people said, well, but that's only one company. Like we did a good job with Carrier. And I want to thank United Technologies, which owns Carrier. But we saved close to 1,000 jobs. And they were gone. And Mike Pence and his staff really helped us a lot. But that was a tough one because they announced a year and a half before that they were leaving. So it's always tough when they're building a plant. It's a little tougher than before they start or before they make an announcement. So I want to thank United Technologies. But we've been meeting with a lot of companies. But what really is happening is the word is now out that when you want to move your plant to Mexico or some other place and you want to fire all of your workers from Michigan and Ohio and all these places that I won for good reason, it's not going to happen that way anymore. You want to move your plant, and you think, as an example, you're going to build that plant in Mexico, and you're going to make your air conditioners or your cars or whatever you're making and you're going to sell it through what will be a very, very strong border, not a weak border like it is now. We don't even have a border. It's an open sieve. But you're going to sell through a very strong border. Not going to happen. You're going to pay a very large border tax. So if you want to move to another country, and if you want to fire all of our great American workers that got you there in the first place, you can move from Michigan to Tennessee and to North Carolina and South Carolina. You can move from South Carolina back to Michigan. You can do anywhere. You got a lot of states at play, a lot of competition. So it's not like, oh, gee, I'm taking the competition. Well, you got a lot of places you can move. And I don't care, as long as it's within the United States, the borders of the United States. There will be a major border tax on these companies that are leaving and getting away with murder. And if our politicians had what it takes, they would have done this years ago, and you'd have millions more workers right now in the United States that are 96 million really wanting a job and they can't get. You know that story, the real number. That's the real number. So that's the way it is. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Are we living in Nazi Germany? What are you driving at there? Do you have a problem with the intelligence community? And on the Supreme Court, what's your timeline for decision? A while ago you were down to court. Have you conducted those interviews yet? What's your timeline for nominating? And on the border fence, now it appears clear U.S. taxpayers will pay for it up front. What is your
That's not clear at all. Okay, I got it. You have any more? On the fence. It's not a fence, it's a wall. You just misreported it. We're going to build a wall. I could wait about a year and a half until we finish our negotiations with Mexico, which will start immediately after we get to office, but I don't want to wait. Mike Pence is leading an effort to get final approvals through various agencies and through Congress for the wall to begin. I don't feel like waiting a year or a year and a half. We're going to start building. Mexico, in some form, and there are many different forms, will reimburse us, and they will reimburse us for the cost of the wall. That will happen, whether it's a tax or whether it's a payment, probably less likely that it's a payment, but it will happen. So remember this, okay? I would say we are going to build a wall, and people would go crazy. I would then say, who's going to pay for the wall? And people would all scream out, 25, 30,000 people, because nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had. You know that. You don't like to report that, but that's okay. Okay, now he agrees. Finally, he agrees. But I say, who's going to pay for the wall? And they will scream out, Mexico. Now, reports went out last week, oh, Mexico's not going to pay for the wall because of a reimbursement. What's the difference? I want to get the wall started. I don't want to wait a year and a half until I make my deal with Mexico. So, and we probably will have a deal sooner than that. And by the way, Mexico has been so nice, so nice. I respect the government of Mexico. I respect the people of Mexico. I love the people of Mexico. I have many people from Mexico working for me. They're phenomenal people. The government of Mexico is terrific. I don't blame them for what's happened. I don't blame them for taking advantage of the United States. I wish our politicians were so smart. Mexico has taken advantage of the United States. I don't blame the representatives and various presidents, etc., of Mexico. What I say is we shouldn't have allowed that to happen. It's not going to happen anymore. So in order to get the wall started, Mexico will pay for the wall, but it'll be reimbursed. Okay? Supreme Court judge. So, as you know, I have a list of 20. I've gone through them. We've met with numerous candidates. They're outstanding in every case. They were largely recommended and highly recommended by Federalist Society. Jim DeMint was also very much involved in his group, which is fantastic, and he's a fantastic guy. So between Leo and Jim DeMint and some senators and some Congress people, we have a great group of people. I'll be making the decision on who we will put up for Justice of the United States Supreme Court, a replacement for the great, great Justice Scalia. That will be probably within 2 weeks of the 20th. So within about 2 weeks, probably the second week. I consider the first day because we'll also be doing some pretty good signings. And I think what we'll do is we'll wait till Monday. That will be our really first business day, as opposed to doing it on Friday, because on Friday people are going to have a very good time at the inauguration. And then Saturday, as you know, we're having a big church service and lots of good things are happening. So our first day, and you'll all be invited to the signings, but we'll be doing some pretty good signings on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and then also the next week. And you're all invited. But on the Supreme Court, I'll be making that decision. And it'll be a decision which I very strongly believe in. I think it's one of the reasons I got elected. I think the people of this country did not want to see what was happening with the Supreme Court. So I think it was a very, very big decision as to why I was elected. I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN, going out of their way to build it up. And by the way, we just found out, I was coming down, Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, not you. Not you. Your organization's terrible. Your organization's terrible. Let's go. Go ahead. Quiet. Go ahead. She's asking a question. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question. You are fake news. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't say he went too far. No. I don't say. Plans to send me a bill for what? I hadn't heard Lindsey Graham was going to do that. Lindsey Graham. I've been competing with him for a long time, and he's going to crack that 1% barrier one day. I didn't realize Lindsey Graham's still at it. It's all right. I think Lindsey Graham's a nice guy, actually. I've heard that he's a nice guy, and I've been hearing it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You've been waiting. Go ahead. Stand up, please. What? BBC News. That's another beauty.
If they come back with any kind of any of it stands up, any of it is true, will you consider your decision?
There's nothing they can come back with. Okay, yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Reforms do you recommend for this industry?
Well, I don't recommend reforms. I recommend people that have some moral compass. I've been hearing more and more about a thing called fake news, and they're talking about people that go and say all sorts of things. But I will tell you, some of the media outlets that I deal with are fake news, more so than anybody. I could name them, but I won't bother. But you have few sitting right in front of us. So they're very, very dishonest people. But I think it's just something we're going to have to live with. I guess the advantage I have is that I can speak back. When it happens to somebody that doesn't have that kind of a megaphone, they can't speak back. It's a very sad thing. I've seen people destroyed. I've seen people absolutely destroyed, and I think it's very unfair. So all I can ask for is honest reporters. Yes.
trust your U.S. intelligence officials? And when you say to foreign policy experts, you say you're actually weakening national security by waging war against national security.
Intelligence agencies are vital and very, very important. We are going to be putting in, as you know, Mr. Pompeo and others, you know the Senator, Dan Coates, we're going to be putting in some outstanding people. Within 90 days, they're going to be coming back to me with a major report on hacking. I want them to cover this situation. I also want them, however, to cover maybe most importantly, because we're hacked by everybody. You know, the United States, our government, out of a list of 17 in terms of industries, is the worst. It's number 17 in terms of protection. If you look at the retail industry, if you look at the banking industry, various industries, out of 17 industries, they put this in the category of an industry, the United States is last in terms of protecting, let's say, hacking defense. Like we had a great hacking defense at the Republican National Committee. That's why we weren't hacked. By the way, we were told they were trying to hack us, but they weren't able to hack. And I think I get some credit because I told Reince, and Reince did a phenomenal job, but I said, I want strong hacking defense. The Democratic National Committee didn't do that. Maybe that's why the country runs so badly that way. But I will tell you, wait, let me finish. Within 90 days, we will be coming up with a major report on hacking defense. How do we stop this new phenomena, fairly new phenomena? Because the United States is hacked by everybody. That includes Russia and China and everybody. Everybody. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You said just now that you believe that Russia indeed was responsible for the hacking of the DNC, Alphabet emails, etc.
Well, Russia, but you know what? Could have been others also.
But why did you spend weeks undermining U.S. intelligence community for simply getting the facts and then making them?
Well, I think it's pretty sad when intelligence reports get leaked out to the press. I think it's pretty sad. First of all, it's illegal. You know, these are classified and certified meetings and reports. And I'll tell you what does happen. I have many meetings with intelligence, and every time I meet, people are reading about it. Somebody's leaking it out. So then I said, maybe it's my office. Maybe my office, because I have a lot of people, a lot of great people. Maybe it's them. And what I did is I said, I won't tell anybody. I'm going to have a meeting, and I won't tell anybody about my meeting with intelligence. And what happened is I had my meeting. Nobody knew, not even Rona, my executive assistant for years. She didn't know. I didn't tell her. Nobody knew. The meeting was had. The meeting was over. They left. And immediately the word got out that I had a meeting. So I don't want that. I don't want that. It's very unfair to the country. It's very unfair to our country what's happened. That report should have never, first of all, it shouldn't have been printed because it's not worth the paper it's written on. And I thank the New York Times for saying that. I thank a lot of different people for saying that. But I will tell you, that should never, ever happen. Okay.
Can you stand here today, once and for all, and say that no one connected to you or your campaign had any contact with Russia leading up to or during the presidential campaign? And if you indeed do believe that Russia was behind the hacking, what is your message to Vladimir Putin right now?
He shouldn't be doing it. He won't be doing it. Russia will have much greater respect for our country when I'm leading it than when other people have led it. You will see that. Russia will respect our country more. He shouldn't have done it. I don't believe he'll be doing it more. Now, we have to work something out, but it's not just Russia. Take a look at what's happened. You don't report it the same way. 22 million accounts were hacked in this country by China. And that's because we have no defense. That's because we're run by people that don't know what they're doing. Russia will have far greater respect for our country when I'm leading it. And I believe, and I hope, maybe it won't happen, it's possible, but I won't be given a little reset button like Hillary. Here, press this piece of plastic. Guy looked at her like, what is she doing? There's no reset button. We're either going to get along or we're not. I hope we get along, but if we don't, that's possible too. But Russia and other countries, including China, which has taken total advantage of us economically, totally advantage of us in the South China Sea by building their massive fortress. Total. Russia, China, Japan, Mexico, all countries will respect us far more than they do under past administrations. I want to thank everybody. So this is all, just so you understand, these papers, because I'm not sure that was explained properly, but these papers are all just a piece of the many, many companies that are being put into trust to be run by my two sons. And I hope at the end of 8 years I'll come back and I'll say, oh, you did a good job. Otherwise, if they do a bad job, I'll say, you're fired. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
We are back. The press conference just ended. I am hoping, unfortunately, our reporter Liz Willis was supposed to be able to ask a question. She didn't get a chance. I want to try to get her on the phone so she can talk to you and tell you what it was like being there. Thank you, Jake. So basically, I had seen, it's interesting, I had seen reports on the New York Times. One of the reporters was saying that during the press conference, President-elect Trump was he wasn't doing it like the usual way, which is the usual way is that I guess the way Obama did it is like that the president kind of knows in advance who he's going to call on and it goes in a prescribed order. But and here we have Liz Willis is calling in. I'll put her right on. Hey Liz. You're on live now. We're doing our post show, so we would love to talk to you a little bit about what it was like being at the press conference. So do you have a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
The press conference has just ended.
Okay, so Liz, I was just about to tell my viewers because I know you were supposed to ask a question, but we had seen reports online that Trump wasn't calling on specific people in advance, Okay, so we just wanted to ask you. We know you didn't. So whatever the reason it was, we know you didn't get a chance to ask a question, which is fine because there's so many reporters that are shouting stuff out. But I guess what we'd really like to know for you is what was it like being there? Give the viewers some perspective from somebody who was sitting there basically right in front of him, and what was the whole feel there like?
It was great being here. The room is absolutely packed. There's over 100 reporters, and everyone is trying to get their chance to ask President Donald Trump's questions. It seems like he took mainly the front row questions. I don't know if it's because he could hear them better. Again, the room is packed, and everyone is shouting, so it's a little difficult to hear. But it's an overwhelming feeling. His energy was up. He was healthy and happy, and he wants to bring jobs back to the U.S. He wants to help the veterans. He's completely separating himself from all business assets, and he seems to be feeling good and doing great. He had made a few comments to the reporters that he wasn't so fond of, and he's not afraid to voice his opinion.
So you said he seemed healthy and happy and stuff. So it sounds like you're saying he seemed pretty confident, he didn't seem uncomfortable because so this was his first press conference as president-elect. But it sounds like you're saying he seemed pretty comfortable and confident in doing that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think he's just a natural. I mean, he's had years of experience holding press conferences, whether it's for his business or TV shows. He's not afraid of the camera. And for what he's gone through the past 24 hours with the news of the Russians possible spies and the information on him that turned out to be fake, he made an announcement that he was grateful to the media that is being honest and that is supporting him and calling out fake news. So he seems to be in better spirits than I would be, having had lies spread about me through intelligence agencies and fake news.
Now, how big exactly? We saw the desk full of papers related to his business. It looked pretty big. Was it even? So this was the thing where he said, like, his lawyer said, basically, we're making it so that, like, I don't know what the actual technical term is, but we're like putting all his business dealings into a trust so he can be separate from them as president-elect, as president. And then she like pointed to the table and she said, like, this is only some of the papers. It looked pretty big. How big was it in person?
It's huge. I would say there's around 50 envelopes, and they were just packed with papers and papers. It's hard to see exactly how many, but that is countless hours and days to see him and go through and read all those papers. That's just, like you said, she said it's just a portion of what they're having to go through, and separate yourself from that many assets and properties and companies. It's going to take a lot of time. And I think it's a completely self for that. Like he said, he does not have to separate himself as president. He doesn't have to worry about the conflict of interest, but he does not want to be a part of it, just to relieve stress on the American people so they don't have to worry about any foreign corporations. Like Trump's organization will not be doing foreign deals. They'll be working domestic, and there will be an ethics council put on the Trump management organization just to verify that everything is ethical and correct and in the best minds for the American people.
Hold on one second here, Liz. So hold on one sec, Liz. So what to you was the most memorable part of the press conference, being there actually personally?
Well, it is my first press conference. I am honored to be here and honored to represent Right Side Broadcasting. It's packed. There's no other network that I want to be representing right now. I'm honest, it's open, and it's for the American people. It was a beautiful sight to be here in Trump Tower. We're next to the Golden Elevators. We're looking at a row of American flags with a blue drape behind us. It's very patriotic, and it really brings a sense of nationalism to me. I'm so excited that you got to be there. And you know what? This time you didn't get to answer a question, but it's always possible next time. And as you pointed out, it sounded like you said there were over 100 reporters there. And I certainly know that there were not 100 questions asked. So it's sort of like, even if given that even if he's doing his best, which I'm sure he was, to let all the reporters ask questions, it just unfortunately can't always happen. But we love that you were there. We love that you're able to give us some in-person perspective. And maybe, so I know you're going to be in D.C. helping to cover the inauguration next week, and I'll actually be there. And so I'd love to next week when we have you on camera talk to you some more about what it was like to be there today, because I think it's a really cool thing to be able to hear about. I really think it's cool for me even to hear about it, and I'm sure my viewers would like to hear more about it too. So they'll be able to see you next week from DC, correct? Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody would like to be interviewed, come find us in DC. Tweet us if you want to know the location where we'll be interviewing. We are more than happy to see you, interview you, and get your opinion on everything that's going on right now. Oh,
that's true. So people should tweet it, you and me next week, because we'll be in DC. So I'm at Lookner. That's at LOOKNER. And Liz, what is your Twitter handle?
I am at _Liz Willis. Tweet me anytime, day or night, and let's meet up and talk about what's going on. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to hear from you and get as many opinions as we can.
And I, before you go, Liz, I just want to clarify something. When we first started talking, I was offering a theory that I had seen about like what was going on during the press conference and how it was being run. I honestly have no personal idea what was going on there. And so we have no inside information on like if there was a certain plan or there was not a certain plan. So I probably shouldn't have even speculated on it, because it's like, who knows? So, I mean, the best we can say is that, he was there, he he took a ton of questions, he gave a ton of answers, there were a ton of reporters there, and we have a lot more information than we have before. And I definitely misspoke before when I talked about like what was going on and what was. I don't want anyone to think that I had any information about what was actually going on at the conference. I was trying to relay something I had seen, but I misspoke if I said that like this is what happened, because I have no idea what was going on. And to me, the press conference was lots of questions, lots of really good new information, and he certainly made an effort to talk about a lot of different. I mean, he seemed to like go over like lots of different topics, and so it must have been really neat to be there and just hear him speak on all these different topics. Did you think he was it like what's your thoughts on that on the different material he covered?
I think he had a lot to cover, and okay, sorry, they are taking.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
he had a lot of important topics to cover, and it was all over the spectrum and all over the board. But he did a good job of hitting the nail on the head for the main points for each subject and getting the info out that he needed to. It was shorter and to the point, just enough that to make the press happy. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Just enough to keep the press.
Yep. Well, great. So, Liz, I don't want you to get in trouble. So please, so follow their orders and get out of there. But thank you so much for your coverage today. Thank you for being there for Right Side. Thank you for your perspective after. And people really look forward. And people really look forward to talk to. I look forward, and everybody I'm sure out there looks forward to seeing you on camera next week reporting from D.C. So have a great trip to D.C. when you head there, and I will personally see you next week in D.C.
Thank you, Steve. I look forward to it, and I look forward to many more press conferences in the next 4 years.
Awesome. Me too. Okay. Bye, Liz.
Bye, Steve.
Okay. I realized this too, that I just want to clarify this. I said something wrong, so I have to apologize for you. This will happen once in a while, so I apologize. But I just want to be upfront about it. So I think I said before that we were promised a question. We were not promised a question. So we were hoping to get a question. So I want to make clear that I misspoke when I said that. So my bad. My bad. Sorry, Steve's bad. So, but we will when we make mistakes here, we correct them. So sorry, I misspoke about that. We were hoping Liz would get to ask a question, but then again, I think every one of the reporters there and every one of their organizations is hoping. So, but Liz is great, and she'll be at future. Hopefully, we'll be able to see her at future press conferences, and she'll be at the inauguration next week with me covering it, and with Cassie and Will. So much inauguration coverage next week coming up. It's going to be amazing. So I want to see here. I don't know if Jake, how are we doing here? Are we? We're good, but we. Okay, so we're going to be on for a few more minutes here, and I want to see if any. So if you have, we're only going to be on for a few more minutes right now. But if you have any comments you want to try to get in before the end of this post show, you can direct message me on Twitter. I'm at Lookner, at LOOKNER, and direct message me any comments you might have. We have one right here from Earl Click, and Earl Click says, "Awesome press conference, awesome show." He's asking what agency he says did Trump comment about. So Trump did say he did at one point call. I believe he was talking to Jim Acosta of CNN, and he said, "You're fake news." I believe that's what happened. I would have to go back and watch to make sure. But I saw this reported by the New York Times too. But that he said to Jim Acosta of CNN that they were fake news. So Earl, that's the answer to your question. Let's see. We have. Deplorable Infidel said, CNN reporter got what they deserved long time ago. So that's some feedback from Deplorable Infidel. We have, let's see. Mint Julep had the same question. Mint Julep wanted to know which of the mainstream media did Trump call fake news. So again, I believe at one point he called CNN fake news. And he did say this comment about BBC News, I don't want, it was something like he said, there's another good one or something. That's probably not exactly right, so go back and watch it again if you want to get that. But he made some remark like that about BBC News, I remember. So it was very interesting. Joe D'Agostino says, thank you for asking this, Joe. Joe D'Agostino wrote, "Are you crying on air? Are you okay?" I am fine. What was happening is I was having a bit of an issue with the contact lens. I think because there's a light right here, and it was somehow shining at the wrong angle to my lens. But I'm fine now. I am not crying. I am not sad, but it touches my heart that you were concerned about my well-being. We have another comment here. Lexter Dexter says, watch your live feed on YouTube. Great job. Thanks for thinking we did a great job here. And he says, CNN total fake news. That's Lexter Dexter's comment. So I love hearing from your comments and hearing your views. Oh, we have another one here. Rambling Brothers says, this press conference was inspiring. I'm ready to get to work and help turn this country around. Conservatarian says, you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much, Conservatarian. Richard Santomaro says, Trump was very strong on Obamacare in the Supreme Court. So, great feedback. So I believe we're just about ready to go here. So I want to let you know what's coming up is, if you want to talk more about this, Wayne Dupree will be doing his show tonight on Right Side. He's going to be taking calls, and if you heard Wayne earlier on our pre-show, he's a super passionate guy, and I would encourage you, if you want to talk more about this, call in to Wayne's show. Let him know what you think, and if you haven't given Wayne a shot, he's a really entertaining guy, so give him a shot. Thank you so much for tuning into Right Side, and we're so psyched to be able to bring you new shows coming up and also coverage of these live events. Both of those things we want to do for you. If we don't take money from big donors because we want to keep our control of our network, and so we're not going to like say some donor like, hey, you can give us this money and we'll let you control what's on our network. But on the flip side, that means that we don't have this big donor money always coming in. So if you'd like to help us out, donors are so valuable here. Help us bring all this programming to you. You can go to rsbn.tv/donate. Anything you can spare, we really appreciate. You can go and follow Right Side Broadcasting for the latest on Twitter. You'll get updates about all our shows. That's at RSB Network. My Twitter is at Lookner, Lookner. And I thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you watching it. We're so excited. I mean, this was really like, this press conference was like the first kind of event of the new presidency, even though he's not president yet, but it sort of felt like he was already president. We're just so excited to in the next 4 years, and maybe beyond, bring you coverage of what's going on with Donald Trump and the presidency, but also bring you all kinds of new shows, maybe even besides political shows, just the kind of shows that, real people want to see and that aren't on the mainstream media. So keep looking. We're going to have a lot of new programs coming for you really soon. This Thursday, check out Raised Right with Cassie and Will. That's Thursday night on Right Side. That covers what it's like being a conservative in college these days. Really interesting show. And definitely next week, tons of inauguration coverage coming your way. We got live feed of the inauguration. We're going to be at all the events. Deplorable. There's all the events surrounding it we're going to be on. And we have, he's on Fridays. Oh, and I just got a note here that our newest show is the Joey Saladino Show, starring Joey Salads, who's really famous for his social experiments on YouTube. But Joey is doing a whole new kind of thing for us where he basically, it's just Joey, and he talks about and gives his take on the latest things going on in politics and other things, and it's really entertaining. So you can actually see the first episode on Right Side's YouTube channel right now. It's up there, the Joey Saladino Show, and he'll be on Fridays. So on Fridays, this Friday, you'll be seeing, I believe, a new episode of the Joey Saladino Show, and the plan is for Joey to keep doing new episodes on Fridays, so check that out if you haven't. And please join us for inauguration next week. It's going to be really exciting. I will be out in the field, and Liz Willis will be out in the field interviewing you and interviewing people and going around D.C. and seeing what it's like there. And we're going to have Cassie and Will inside a lot of these events and reporting from there. So can't wait to get there and bring this to you. And But this is all about you. It's all about you guys. We do this for you. We want to do programming that you like and that you can't see anywhere else. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the messages. I love hearing from you, and we'll continue to try to allow you to participate in our programming in real time. And looking forward to the inauguration. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week, and we'll see you all soon. So thank you here from Right Side Broadcasting for joining us for our live coverage of President-elect Trump's first press conference after the election, and we'll see you real soon. So until then, talk to you later.